a Hello, welcome to Walk in the Park. My name is Tony Ingram, and this is being recorded on April 17th, 2019. 220 episodes we've got, and you can see most of them on my website. If you go to walkinthepark.tv, that's where I've got the shows. So this is a public access TV presentation series, weekly series, produced in Ithaca, New York at Pegasus Community Media Center. And you can see all of our series and our schedules and so forth at pegasus.webstarts.com. And you yourself can become a producer if you're in the Tompkins County area, the Ithaca, New York area, and you can come and see the schedule of trainings on the website here and sign up for a training and come get trained to use our equipment, use our studios. You can take a course to use what's called portable equipment, taking cameras and other equipment out in the field and then coming back and producing a show here, or you can do in the live studio here and use how to use the studios. I'm in what's called the mini studio, and we have a much larger studio. Okay, so today we're going to take a look at least some of one of our Finger Lakes to the western part of the region. Well, here we are looking at a regional map, Google map, looking down on the Finger Lakes, and we're in the just lower right of center. There is Ithaca at the south end of Cayuga Lake. But we're going to go over to Canandaigua Lake, which is actually labeled, and that's like 3 lakes to the west, south of the City of Canandaigua, New York, and southeast of Rochester. So let's take another shot down in here. We're going to go down to Canandaigua Lake. There's the lake there in the middle of the picture. The northern end is the City of Canandaigua, and it goes all the way down into the hills in the south. So get some other perspectives of it. This is a panorama stitched together with photographs by a friend of mine who's a photographer, Roger Peter Benson Kent. And so it goes almost all the way to the right on the southern end of the lake, all the way to the northern end on the left. So that's quite a few miles there. And the hill on the other side is South Hill. And we'll take a look at that from other perspectives. And then you see another little bump to the left of that is Bear Hill. We're going to be looking at those hills farther along in the program. So here's a view from the south, obviously from the air, looking over the High Tor Wildlife Management Area and those marshes down there at the south end of the lake. And just to the left out of the picture would be the village of Naples, New York. And on the right, upper right there, is that South Hill again, which is actually the traditional birthplace of the Seneca people. So that's a whole story in of itself. And the lake then winding north from there. This picture was taken by my friend Bill Hecht. He takes a lot of aerial pictures of the Finger Lakes, including this one also. This is looking from the other side of Bear Hill. That's Bear Hill poking up just in front of the lake there. And on the left is South Hill. And in between is a valley we're going to visit called Vine Valley. And there again is the lake going from the southern end near Naples, New York, to the right and extending much farther north to the City of Canandaigua. So once again, this is Walk in the Park, walkinthepark.tv. We're going to get in closer here, looking at this map of the aerial, space picture of the lake. We'll go in closer yet. Let me see. I'm going to get I'm going to read some statistics here in this view of the whole lake. Okay, this is from Wikipedia. Canandaigua Lake is 15.5 miles long, 1.5 miles wide, and has a shoreline of almost 36 miles. So it's not as big as Seneca or Cayuga Lake, which is Cayuga Lake, for instance, is 38 miles long, and Seneca Lake is 35 miles long. So it's not as big, but it's still a good lake. Good-sized lake. Near the northern end is Squaw Island. We'll be talking about that. About 50% of the surrounding land is in forest, but most of the remainder is under cultivation. Of the 36 miles of shoreline, 34.7 are private land, and only 1.2 miles are public. That's 3% of the lake. So there's not a lot of public access to this otherwise gorgeous lake. So let's look in. We're going to go to the northern end here. We're actually going to get on a boat in a minute and Zooming in to the northern end, you can see the city of Canandaigua there, which is said twice for some reason. It does mention Squaw Island. We'll be going to Squaw Island in this show. Okay, zooming in now. Look at there's the city there, in the top half of the picture, and then right just in the center is sort of a green area. I think it's because it's kind of shallow. And on the right-hand side of that, we're going to drop down a little more closely, and looking at some piers down there, up here, and even, let's see, where are we? Closer still, and closer still, and look at that. There's a couple of piers, and then there's some kind of boat in the water. Well, it just so happens when they took this picture, when the satellites took this picture from space, that this boat was coming back to dock, and it's actually this boat called the Canandaigua Lady. So let me get up there some information here. I've got to read to you about the Canandaigua Lady. See if I can bring it up. Okay, the Canandaigua Lady is a 19th century steamboat replica and an authentic double-decker paddle wheeler operating on Canandaigua Lake. Now there are other tour boats that are made to look like steamboats and so forth, and have fake paddle wheels, and I've been on one or two of those. But this one actually drives itself with a paddle wheel in the back there. We'll see that running when I get the video clips coming. So, okay, docking on the northern shoreline of Canandaigua Lake since 1989. So that's like 30 years. The Lady, Canandaigua Lady, is a proud successor to locally famous steamboats that operated on the Finger Lakes between 1820 and 1930. And actually, the first, I think, probably the first one was on Cayuga Lake, and that was the Enterprise in 1920. So over 100 years. At one time, there were 19 steamboats that operated as the primary means of transportation, as there were no roads along the lake at the time. I don't know if there were 19 steamboats on Canandaigua Lake or just on the Finger Lakes as a whole. I think it's probably on the Finger Lakes as a whole. So, okay, so once again, this is Walk in the Park, walkinthepark.tv if you just tuned in. And you can go to my website and see all my shows, and also the schedule of cable casts that we have of this show, this series on Ithaca Public Access Television, Channel 13, cable television in Ithaca, New York, public access at Pegasus Community Media Center in Ithaca. And it's also cable cast in Cortland on Channel 2, so you can see the schedule at walkinthepark.tv. So let's go back to our scene here. Wait a minute, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's see. We're going to go back to this picture. That's what I want. Now I'm going to show you the video clip. A few minutes on. We're going to take a trip on Canandaigua Lake. So let's see. Get this one up. Cue it right up here. Here we go. We're going to bring that right up here. All right. Stand by.
This way, so all the guests. I'm trying to get there and I'm kind of laughing. But I'm thinking I'll fly down to Nashville the night before, the day before, and then we can fly together.
So as we cross the lake here, if you look off the starboard side, you get a nice view of the southern half of Canandaigua Lake. And you can immediately see the difference in the topography of the southern end and the northern end of the lake. Much steeper graded hill at the south end. And the rule of thumb with glacial lakes is the steeper the hill, the steeper the water. That holds true here at Canandaigua. The southern end is the deeper end of the lake, just off Vine Valley. Vine Valley is marked. You can kind of see that there's two long sloping hills. Sometimes they look like one, but you can sort of see their silhouette on the eastern shores. That marks Vine Valley, the deepest part of the lake. The hill to the south is South Hill. The hill to the north is Bear Hill, spelled B-A-R-E. That is specifically where the Senecas believe their existence began, right at the top of Bear Hill. True story. Canandaigua was built for a senator, Senator John Raines. Unfortunately, he never lived to see its completion in 1910, and that's how the yacht club came to move here. As I mentioned, the yacht club moved to the west side after Prohibition was repealed. And then it was vacant for a time, and then it was turned into a very high-end restaurant, and I think they even let out a few rooms on the second floor. It was unique because, as I said, it's very high-end, fine dining type atmosphere, but you see their boathouse out in front here on the north end of the property that also had a kitchen. It was very casual. So if you were just out in your boat and you wanted a burger and a beer, you could pull up if you were celebrating something, rehearsal dinner, something like that. Go up in the main house. So as I said, it was very unique. One property, one set of owners, but two very different atmospheres. It is, as you can see, since been purchased and turned back into a private home. And there is a Seneca term that means the meeting place. Here's what I want you to do. Next, I want you to start working on next year's.
So that's what a ride on the Canandaigua Lady is like, and they serve a meal on there. I got a nice lunch, and it was a lot of fun. I did that last September, I think it was. This is Walk in the Park, walkinthepark.tv to see our whole schedule on Channel 13 in Ithaca, New York, and Channel 2 in Cortland, New York, and online as well at walkinthepark.tv website. So we're going to take a look at a feature that is in Canandaigua Lake, and I mentioned earlier, called Squaw Island. Now, if you look at the just you see a label in the lake just to the left, lower left of center. Let's zoom in a little bit. There's a tiny little island that's off the city piers there, and let's see if we can go in more closely. What do I have here to tell you about? Okay, Squaw Island is located at the north end of Canandaigua Lake near the City of Canandaigua. That's what it wrote there. So what do we have next? Zoom in a little farther. okay, is one of the 2 islands in the 11 Finger Lakes. 2 islands. So where's the other island? Well, the other island is in Cayuga Lake. It's called Frontenac Island off the village of Union Springs up in Cayuga County. So it's actually north of Wells, north of Aurora, and south of Montezuma Marsh, about halfway between or so, I guess. But that's on Cayuga Lake. Those are the only 2 islands in the Finger Lakes. So Squaw Island, let's take a look at a map here of it. Let's see. So we're going to take a look at a map of the DEC, Department of Environmental Conservation, has a map of this place. So Squaw Island, you can see in the middle of the picture there, just below the center. And this is what they write. Frequently it is described as New York's smallest state park. And when I worked for the state parks, we did say that. I remember people saying, that's the smallest state park in our region. We have an island there. So, but actually it's not a state park, technically. However, while it is one of the state's smallest protected areas, it is not formally designated as a state park, but rather it is a, quote, unique area managed by the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. So let's go down to the next image here. So there's a sign at the end of the pier they have there. Like most of the state's wildlife management areas, Squaw Island Wildlife Management Area is managed by DEC's, Department of Environmental Conservation's Division of Fish and Wildlife for wildlife conservation, wildlife-associated recreation, like hunting, trapping, wildlife viewing, and photography. Due to its small size and limited accessibility, DEC does not perform any wildlife or recreational management activities on the island. So actually it's getting kind of funky there. There's gulls have left quite a lot of gull droppings. They're nesting there in guano and so forth, and there's been controversy as to what they should do about that. But there's some more important issues in terms of the protection of Squaw Island. It formed from the alluvial deposits of nearby Sucker Brook. Limestone from the brook's bedrock dissolved in its waters forms rare lime carbonate ocolites, known locally as water biscuits on its shores. There's only a few places in the world where these occur. Rises in the lake level following the damming of Canandaigua Outlet. That's the stream that goes out through the village of Canandaigua, through the city of Canandaigua, and goes on to Lake Ontario eventually, have reduced the island to a small portion of its former land. State and local activists have worked together to shore it up against erosion and prevent it from disappearing. So, if you look at the shore there, you can see there's a lot of rubble, a lot of stone that's been put there, so maybe that's what that is about. The first people known to have lived in the region, the ancestors of the Haudenosaunee or Iroquois, did not live on the island, even though it was larger than it is now. However, flint arrowheads and other artifacts found on the island suggest it was used for hunting waterfowl and perhaps deer. Of course, it freezes over there, so people can go out in the ice. It may also have been used as a staging area for Iroquois warriors in the area mobilizing against the Sullivan expedition of 1779 during the Revolutionary War, when the Continental Army invaded the Finger Lakes. Well, maybe so. I don't know if there's any real support for that, but that's somebody's idea. But there is well, this is a sign that's at the end of the pier. It says the island, let's see, what does it say? The island beyond this pier is known as Squaw Island, the smallest state park in New York. And then we know that's not a state park. And blah, blah, blah. Let's see. According to legend, the wives and children of the Senecas sought refuge on the island during the invasion of their homeland by General Sullivan in 1779. So that's how it got the name Squaw Island. But let's see what the there's an article in the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle on August 5th in 2015 that said the island is central to a local legend about Native American women hiding there during General John Sullivan's army expedition to destroy Native American villages in the late 1700s. It would have been Seneca villages. Hence the name Squaw Island. That story is backed by more by poems than by historical evidence, but there were Native American villages in the area at the time of the raid, so there could be some truth to it, said Canandaigua State Historic Site Manager Peter Jemison. And Canandaigua State Historic Site is run by Native Americans mostly, and it is dedicated to the interpretation of Native peoples in the area, and particularly the Seneca people. And site manager Peter Jemison is of Seneca heritage. So the term, quote, squaw is often viewed as a derogatory name in Native American culture, as it is said to represent prejudice and white conquerors' assault on Native American women, said Jemison. So not a very respectful name for the island in terms of the... so there's even a book, which I've not read and not seen, but found out about Squaw Island, Small Wonder, by Preston Pierce. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, you can somehow get a hold of that book. Maybe you can get an interlibrary loan or something. Okay, so we're going to watch just a short video, 1-minute video, to bring this place to life just a little bit. So Squaw Island. Bringing that one up, let's see. Coming right up here. So there it is, the smallest island in the Finger Lakes, and there's only two. Squaw Island, less than a quarter acre in size. Once again, there's its location, just offshore in the northern end of Canandaigua Lake, a state wildlife management area. We're watching Walk in the Park, walkinthepark.tv, to see our schedules of cablecasts in Ithaca and Cortland, New York, and you can watch it online on that website, .tv. We're going to go down to the southern end now of Canandaigua Lake. Actually going to mostly spend our time on the east shore and take a look at some of the features down there. So we're going back to this picture by Bill Hecht, aerial photograph obviously, and we're looking at South Hill. Now you may have heard the narrator on the boat, who was actually the captain as well, on the Canandaigua Lady, saying that Bear Hill, which is the hill north of the hill you see here on the right, upper right, was the ancestral home of the Seneca people. Well, actually, it was South Hill, which is just to the south here, and Vine Valley separates them. We'll see that in a second. South Hill rises 1,100 feet above the waters of the long, narrow lake. In the Seneca tradition, this is a New York Times article actually, the hill is called Nundawao, revered as a place where the tribe's ancestors emerged from the earth. Indeed, the Senecas' word for themselves is Onondawaga, or people of the Great Hill. So this was a New York Times article a few years ago. All right, let's see. So let's see just where we are here. Look at again at Canandaigua Lake. The whole lake here is in the middle of the picture, and then it's labeled Bear Hill, which is, we're going to go down to Bear Hill. No, Vine Valley. There's Vine Valley. You see Vine Valley right in the center. Well, just to this, the dark area on the eastern shore of the lake is South Hill, and then the dark area north of or above the Vine Valley is the Bear Hill, so B-A-R-E. And then this is a topographic map showing Vine Valley coming in there, east side of the lake. And then this is another of Bill's aerial pictures looking at Vine Valley as it comes right down. So that what you're looking at now in the middle of the picture, just upper center, that is Bear Hill. And there is Seneca lore about that place, but it's I won't go into that story, but you can look that up if you want. But let's go to Vine Valley. So right down in the center there, as you can get to the lake. It's pretty hard access to the east shore of the lake, especially the southern end, which is very hilly. So I went down this road coming from the right down to the shore. And we're going to take a look at just a little clip of what I saw there. Coming right up. Okay, so running down on time here. Okay, we're looking right at Vine Valley, and Bear Hill is just to the upper part of that. Zooming in a little bit more there, there's Bear Hill. So Bear Hill is a another wildlife management area, or a Bear Hill unique area. Here it is. We're flying around to, this is Bill's picture again, flying around to the northeast, looking back towards the south. South Hill is on the left, and Bear Hill is right in front of us there, right between us and the lake. And it is a unique area, another kind of like the Squaw Island. It is a unique area. So I won't have much time here, so I'm just going to zip right through this. Every Saturday on Labor Day weekend, Canandaigua's lake perimeter glows at dark. The first fire is lit at the top of Bear Hill overlooking the lake, followed by residents around the shoreline who light a fire that creates a ring around the lake. So let's see, let's go up on top of Bear Hill, and folks actually, the Seneca people actually light a fire up there, and people go up and watch the lake light up with a ring of fire around it. Well, that's all I have time for today. So I was going to have another little video of Bear Hill. Maybe we will do that another time. So thanks for joining me. And the weather's beautiful now, so turn off this screen and go out for a walk in the park. Is a